There's a certain kind of exhaustion that sleep doesn't fix. You know the one. You wake up after 8 hours and feel like you've been working all night. Your body rested, but something else in you didn't. And maybe you've wondered, lying there in the early morning quiet, why sleep feels less like rest and more like another place you have to navigate. If you've ever felt that way, you're not alone. And what I'm about to share isn't about fear or danger. It's about understanding something most people never consider. That for some of us, sleep isn't just a biological function. It's a threshold, a doorway. And when you're someone who carries a certain kind of sensitivity, a certain kind of inner light, that doorway needs to be protected. This is for reflection and comfort, not medical advice. Tonight, we're going to explore why sleep can feel so vulnerable for those who walk a different path. Why your dreams might feel too real. Why you wake up drained even when nothing disturbed you. Why the boundary between you and everything else feels thinner when you close your eyes. And most importantly, how to reclaim your rest as sacred space. If your eyes are getting heavy already, that's okay. You can simply listen. Let these words settle around you like a blanket. By the end, you'll understand what's really happening in those quiet hours and how to finally feel safe enough to truly rest. Chapter 1. The thinning of boundaries. Have you ever noticed how different you feel at 3 in the morning compared to 3 in the afternoon? It's not just tiredness. There's a quality to the late night that feels almost permeable. The world is quieter, yes, but you're also softer somehow, more open, less defended. And for most people, that's when sleep comes easiest. But for you, it might be when sleep feels most complicated. Here's what many people report. The moment they begin to drift off, right at that edge between waking and sleeping, they feel a sudden alertness. Not anxiety exactly, more like a warning system turning on, as if some part of them knows that letting go completely isn't safe. Picture this. You're lying in bed, phone finally set aside, room dark except for the thin line of streetlight through the curtain. Your breathing slows. Your thoughts start to scatter and reform in that dreamlike way. And then, a jolt, a sudden awareness. Your eyes open. You're back. What just happened? Most people would call it insomnia or anxiety. But there's another perspective, one that understands energy as real and sleep as a shift in your energetic state. When you're awake, you have natural defenses. You filter what comes in. You choose what to engage with. You maintain boundaries without even thinking about it. But when you sleep, those boundaries soften. They have to, for rest to happen. And for someone who's naturally sensitive to energy, to emotion, to the unseen currents that move through spaces and between people, that softening can feel like vulnerability. It's not paranoia, it's awareness. Your system recognizing that in sleep, you become more receptive. And not everything trying to reach you has good intentions. So the question becomes, if sleep requires openness, but openness feels unsafe, how do you rest? Chapter 2. Why your energy matters to others. Here's something most people don't talk about. Some of us carry a different quality of presence. Not better, not superior, just different. There's a steadiness to it, a clarity, a kind of light that others can sense even when they don't have words for it. And while that might sound abstract, you've probably felt the effects. The way people gravitate toward you when they're struggling. The way strangers tell you things they've never told anyone. The way certain people seem uncomfortable around you for no clear reason. You might have thought it was coincidence, or your personality, or something about your face that seems trustworthy. But many people describe it as something deeper, an energetic signature that draws both those seeking healing and those seeking to take. And here's what makes sleep so complex. That signature doesn't turn off when you close your eyes. Imagine you're standing in a quiet room, alone, door open to a busy hallway. During the day, you can see who's walking by. You can choose whether to engage. But at night, in sleep, it's like standing in that same room with your eyes closed. The hallway is still there. People are still passing. Some might pause at your door. Some might step inside. And you're not watching anymore. That's the challenge. Your energy, your presence, your light. It continues to broadcast while you sleep. And just as it attracts people in waking life, it can attract attention in sleep. Not always harmful attention. Sometimes just attention. Energy that wants something from you. Comfort, direction, healing, validation. Or sometimes, simply to drain what you have because it feels good to be near your calm. This isn't about ego. It's about understanding a dynamic that's been described across cultures for thousands of years. That certain people serve as energetic anchors, and that role doesn't pause for rest. So what happens when you don't protect that space? Chapter 3. The morning exhaustion. No one understands. You wake up and you're tired, but it's more than tired. It's a specific kind of depletion, like you've been giving all night, like you've been working, teaching, holding space for others even while your conscious mind was elsewhere. And when you try to explain it to people, they suggest better sleep hygiene, earlier bedtimes, melatonin, exercise, all good advice. None of it touches what's actually happening. Some describe it as waking up with a heaviness that isn't theirs, a sadness they went to bed without, an anxiety that appeared overnight. Others talk about vivid dreams where they're counseling people, solving problems, navigating complex emotional situations, and waking up exhausted from the effort. Still others report no dreams at all, just the unmistakable feeling that they weren't alone in their sleep. Picture this: morning light coming through half-closed blinds, alarm going off, and the immediate sense that you've been running all night. Not a nightmare, not restlessness, just depletion. A tiredness in your chest, behind your eyes, in the center of your being. Sound familiar? Here's what's often missed. If you're someone who naturally gives energy when you're awake, who listens deeply, who holds space, who stabilizes the emotional atmosphere around you, that pattern can continue in sleep. Your spirit, your energy body, whatever you want to call it, doesn't stop being generous just because your conscious mind is resting. And without intentional protection, you can end up giving all night to anyone or anything that approaches your energy field. Not because you're weak, because you're open, because your default setting is service, even when you need to be the one being served. And that leads to an important question. How do you close what's naturally open without closing yourself off from rest? Chapter 4. The dreams that feel too real. Let's talk about the dreams you can't shake. You know the ones. You wake up and they're still with you. Vivid, detailed, emotionally intense. Not nightmares necessarily, though sometimes disturbing. More often just exhausting. Dreams where you're teaching, explaining, defending, negotiating, comforting. Dreams where people you don't know need your help. Dreams where you're in places that feel familiar even though you've never been there. And the strange part, they don't feel like your subconscious processing the day. They feel like something else, like meetings, like work, like you went somewhere and did something that mattered, and came back tired from the effort. Many people report this pattern, dreams that feel more like experiences than imagination. A quality of realness to them that regular dreams don't have. Conversations that feel too coherent, details too specific, emotions too intense. And upon waking, the sense that something actually happened, even if they can't prove it. There's a perspective held across many spiritual traditions that sleep is when the conscious mind rests, but the spirit travels, that we move through other layers of reality, other dimensions of existence, doing work that our waking self isn't aware of. And for those who are naturally sensitive, naturally called to help, that work can be intense, draining, necessary, but unbalanced if it's happening every single night without restoration. It's like this. Imagine you have 2 jobs, one during the day that you chose and manage, one at night that you didn't apply for, that just started happening because you're good at it. That second job might be meaningful, might be helping others, but if you never get a night off, you're going to burn out. Your dreams might be showing you where your energy is going, and if they're consistently exhausting, it might be time to set some boundaries around your sleep. But how do you set boundaries with something you can't see? Chapter 5. The sensitivity you can't explain to others. Here's one of the lonelier parts of this experience, trying to explain it to people who don't feel what you feel. You mention that you wake up drained and they suggest a new mattress. You talk about vivid dreams and they recommend cutting out caffeine. You try to describe the feeling of being accessed during sleep, and they look at you like you're talking fiction, not because they're unkind, but because their experience of sleep is fundamentally different. For many people, sleep is simple. Tired, lie down, wake up, repeat. Dreams are random. Rest is automatic. The idea that sleep could be complicated, that it could require protection, doesn't compute. And so you stop trying to explain. You carry it quietly. You manage it alone. But here's what's important to understand. Your sensitivity isn't a flaw in your system. It's a feature. You feel more because you're designed to feel more. You pick up on energy, emotion, intention, undercurrents, because that awareness serves a purpose. During the day, it helps you navigate relationships, understand what's not being said, sense what people need, avoid what's harmful. But at night, that same sensitivity keeps working. You're still picking up signals, still sensing what's around you, still responding to energy even when you're not conscious of it. And because sleep requires a kind of surrender, a letting go of control, that sensitivity can leave you exposed. Picture someone standing in a busy train station with their eyes closed and their arms full of groceries. That's you in sleep, aware of everything moving around you, but unable to respond with your usual awareness. The sensitivity that serves you during the day becomes a vulnerability at night, unless you learn to work with it intentionally, and that's where protection comes in. Chapter 6. What protection actually means. When we talk about protection during sleep, we're not talking about fear-based thinking. This isn't about building walls or living in paranoia. It's not about seeing threats everywhere or believing that the world is out to get you. That kind of thinking actually makes you less safe because it keeps you in a state of stress, which weakens your natural defenses. Real protection is more like setting healthy boundaries. It's the energetic equivalent of locking your front door at night. Not because you expect someone to break in, but because it's a simple, wise practice that lets you relax. You're not being fearful. You're being responsible. Many traditions describe protection as creating sacred space. a bubble of intention around yourself that says, "This is my space. I choose what enters here. During sleep, I rest. I restore. I am unavailable for anything that drains or disturbs." Think of it like this. When you're at home and someone knocks on your door, you get to decide whether to answer. You don't automatically open the door to everyone. You assess. You choose. Protection during sleep is the same principle. You're saying, "My energy is not available to everyone who wants it, especially when I'm resting." Some people use visualization, imagining white light or a protective sphere or angels standing guard. Others use physical items, crystals, salt, sacred objects placed near the bed. Still others use prayer, intention setting, a simple statement before sleep that claims the space as protected. What matters isn't the method. What matters is the intention behind it. The clear internal knowing that your rest is sacred and you have the right to protect it. And here's what surprises many people. The moment you start protecting your sleep, you sleep better. Not because you removed some dramatic threat, but because you removed the low-level energetic noise that was keeping part of you on guard. So what does that actually look like in practice? Chapter 7. The rituals that actually work. Let's get practical for a moment. Because understanding is helpful, but application is what changes your experience. The most effective sleep protection starts before you even get into bed. It starts with transition, with intentionally shifting from day mode to rest mode. Because if you're checking your phone until the moment you close your eyes, if you're scrolling through other people's energy, other people's problems, other people's opinions, you're bringing all of that into your sleep space. Some people describe a simple evening ritual, turning off screens an hour before bed, taking a shower, or washing their face with the intention of washing off the day, not just physically, but energetically, changing into sleep clothes as a signal to their system. Work is done. Service is done. Now I rest. Others talk about setting the space itself, opening a window briefly for fresh air, lighting a candle or incense with intention, speaking a simple statement out loud. This room is protected. Only love and rest are welcome here. I release everything else. It doesn't have to be elaborate. It doesn't have to involve items you don't have or beliefs you don't hold. The key is consistency. Doing something, anything that tells your system, we're entering protected time now. Picture this. You're sitting on the edge of your bed in the quiet dark, and you take 3 slow breaths. With each exhale, you consciously release the day, the conversations, the worries, the energy you picked up from others. And with each inhale, you draw in peace, safety, your own energy returning to you. That simple act, done with intention, can be more powerful than any complicated ritual, because what you're really doing is reclaiming your authority. You're saying, I decide what happens in my sleep, not my sensitivity, not other people's needs, not random energies passing by, me. And your system listens to that. But what about when protection isn't enough? When something still gets through? Chapter 8. When you wake up in the middle of the night, there's a specific kind of waking that's different from normal sleep disruption. You know it if you've experienced it. You wake suddenly, fully alert, heart may be beating a bit faster. The room feels different. The air feels thick, or too quiet, or somehow occupied. And you have the unmistakable sense that something woke you, even though you can't see or hear anything. This is the moment that scares people. The moment they wonder if they're imagining things, if they're being irrational. The moment they might pull the covers over their head and try to force themselves back to sleep while their heart pounds. But here's another way to see it. Your system woke you up for a reason. Some part of you, the part that stays aware even in sleep, sensed something that needed your conscious attention. Not necessarily something harmful, just something that crossed your boundary. Many people report that this kind of waking happens most often when they're first learning to set boundaries. It's like, when you first lock your door, you might hear every sound outside more clearly. Your awareness is heightened because you're learning a new skill, learning to maintain your space. So what do you do in that moment? First, you breathe. Slow, deliberate breaths that calm your nervous system and bring you back to your center. Then, you remember your authority. You are the consciousness in this space. You have the right to claim it. Some people speak out loud. This is my space. Anything not aligned with my highest good must leave now. Others simply hold the intention silently, feeling themselves expanding to fill the room with their own presence. Still others pray, call on whatever they believe in for support. Angels, ancestors, divine protection. The specifics matter less than the clarity of intention. You're not negotiating, you're declaring. And then, you breathe again, you settle, and you choose to return to rest. What many discover is that the more they practice this, the less often it happens, as if the boundary gets stronger with use. But what if the disturbance isn't external? What if it's coming from inside you? Chapter 9. The energy you absorb. During the day. Here's something that gets overlooked. The exhaustion you feel at night might not be from what's happening during sleep. It might be from what you carried into sleep. Think about your day, the conversations you had, the spaces you moved through, the people whose emotions you felt. If you're naturally empathic, naturally sensitive, you don't just observe other people's states, you absorb them. A co-worker's anxiety becomes tension in your shoulders. A friend's sadness sits in your chest. A stranger's anger in the grocery store line leaves you irritated without knowing why. And if you don't clear that before bed, you're taking all of it into your sleep. Your system tries to process it, release it, make sense of it, which means you're not truly resting. You're working all night to discharge energy that isn't even yours. Many people describe a turning point when they realize this, when they start paying attention to how they feel after certain interactions, after spending time in certain places, and they notice patterns. They feel drained after coffee with one friend, but energized after coffee with another. They feel heavy after scrolling social media, but clear after a walk in nature. It's not about judging those experiences as good or bad. It's about recognizing what you're bringing into your sleep space and choosing to clear it first. Some describe this as an evening practice of release, standing in the shower and visualizing everything they absorbed washing down the drain, sitting quietly and mentally reviewing the day, acknowledging what they picked up and consciously handing it back. This isn't mine. I release it with compassion. Others write things down. A simple list of what they're letting go of before sleep, not to dwell on it, just to acknowledge it and set it aside. Picture this. You're sitting in the dim light of your bedroom and you place your hand on your heart. You say, either out loud or silently, anything I absorbed today that isn't mine, I release it now. I return to myself, whole and clear. And you feel the shift, the lightness, the return to your own energy. This practice alone can transform your sleep, because you're no longer asking your rest time to also be your processing time, But there's another layer to this, one that involves who you allow into your inner world. Chapter 10. The people who don't want you to rest. This is a harder truth to sit with, but it's important. Not everyone in your life wants you to be at your best, not consciously. Most people aren't intentionally wishing you harm, but energetically, unconsciously. Some people benefit from you being drained, from you being available, from you not having strong boundaries. These might be people who call you at all hours with their crises, people who guilt you when you try to take time for yourself, people who seem to have an emergency every time you start to feel peaceful. And while they might genuinely be struggling, their pattern creates a dependency that keeps you from resting. If you're someone who helps, who heals, who holds space, you might have people in your life who are energetically attached to you. Not in a dramatic possession way, more like they've gotten used to drawing from your energy field. And when you're awake, you can manage that to some degree. But when you sleep, if there's an energetic cord between you and someone who's draining, they can pull from you all night long. Many people report dreaming about the same person repeatedly. Having that person show up in dreams, asking for things, needing things, or just being present in a way that feels intrusive. And they wake up feeling like they spent the whole night dealing with that person's energy. This isn't about cutting people off or being cold. It's about recognizing that healthy relationships have healthy boundaries, even energetically. And part of protecting your sleep is setting clear boundaries with the people in your waking life. Some describe this as a practice of energetic separation before bed, visualizing any cords or attachments between themselves and others, and gently, lovingly disconnecting them, not with anger, but with clarity. I love you, but my energy is mine, especially during sleep. Others have conversations with people, kind but firm conversations about boundaries, about not being available at certain hours, about needing space to rest without being the one who solves everything. It feels uncomfortable at first, like you're being selfish or abandoning people who need you. But here's the truth. If you don't rest, you can't help anyone. You become resentful, depleted, a shadow of what you're meant to be. Your rest is not selfish. It's essential. And anyone who makes you feel guilty for needing it is showing you exactly why you need boundaries with them. So how do you maintain those boundaries without becoming hard? Chapter 11. Softness and strength at the same time. There's a misunderstanding that protection means becoming closed off, that boundaries mean building walls. But real strength, the kind that lasts, is soft. It's flexible. It doesn't harden against the world. It simply knows itself, knows what it needs, knows what it will and won't accept. When you protect your sleep, you're not saying, I don't care about anyone else. You're saying, I care about myself enough to rest, so that I can show up fully when I'm awake. That's not selfish. That's sustainable. Many people describe this shift in their relationships once they start honoring their need for protected rest. At first, some people push back. They test the boundaries. They ask for exceptions. But over time, the people who truly care about you respect it. They adjust. They stop calling late at night. They stop expecting you to carry their emotional weight at all hours. And the ones who don't adjust, who keep pushing, keep draining, keep demanding, they show you who they are. And you get to decide what to do with that information. Protection doesn't make you mean. It makes you clear. And clarity is one of the kindest things you can offer. Because when you're clear about your boundaries, people know where they stand with you. There's no guessing, no manipulation, just honest, respectful relating. Picture this. Someone calls you late at night with their usual crisis, and instead of answering and losing 2 hours of sleep, you send a simple text. I see you called. I'm not available right now, but I'll reach out tomorrow. And you turn off your phone, and you sleep, and in the morning, you follow through. You call them back, you show up, but on your terms, when you're rested and centered. That's not abandonment. That's teaching people how to treat you, and teaching yourself that your needs matter. If your eyes are getting heavy, that's okay. You can simply listen, let your thoughts settle, but there's one more layer to this that we need to explore. One that has to do with what you're actually here to do. Chapter 12. The work you do while you sleep. Let me say this carefully, because it's easy to misunderstand. Some people are called to do work beyond the physical, work that happens in dreams, in other dimensions, work that serves purposes we don't fully understand with our waking minds. And if you're one of those people, your sleep isn't just rest, it's also service. But here's the crucial part. That service should not come at the expense of your well-being. You're not meant to give until you're empty. You're meant to give from overflow. And if you're waking up exhausted every day from your nighttime work, something is out of balance. Many traditions speak of spiritual warriors, healers, guides who do work in the dream realm, who help souls transition, who teach in sleep, who hold energetic space for shifts happening on larger scales. And if that resonates with you, if you've always felt like your dreams were more than just dreams, there's a good chance you're doing some version of this work. The question is, are you doing it consciously, with boundaries and restoration built in? Or are you being pulled into it every night, without choice? Because there's a difference. Conscious service feels purposeful. Even when it's tiring, there's a satisfaction to it. You wake up knowing you did something meaningful. But unconscious service you're being pulled into against your will, that feels draining, confusing, invasive. So if you suspect you're doing nighttime work, the practice is to make it conscious. Before bed, you set an intention. If I'm called to serve tonight, I go willingly, but only to the extent that serves my highest good. I ask for support, for protection, for restoration equal to what I give. Some people work with guides, with angels, with ancestors, asking them to manage the work so that it doesn't deplete you. Others set clear limits. I will help, but I need 7 hours of uninterrupted rest. Everything else happens around that. And here's what many discover. When you start setting those boundaries, the work becomes easier, more efficient, because you're not fighting it anymore. You're working with it. You're a willing partner rather than a resentful servant. Picture this. You're lying in bed, ready for sleep, and you speak quietly to whatever guides or forces you work with. I honor the work I'm called to do, but I also honor my need to rest. Guide me to balance. Let me serve without being depleted. And you trust that the message is heard, that you don't have to control everything. You just have to be clear about what you need. But what about when the exhaustion has built up for so long that you don't even remember what rested feels like? Chapter 13. Restoring what's been depleted. There comes a point where protection alone isn't enough. You need active restoration. If you've been giving energy for years, if you've been waking up tired for as long as you can remember, your system is running on empty. And while starting to protect your sleep will stop the leak, you also need to refill the well. Some describe this as a period of deep rest, not just sleeping more hours, but sleeping with the intention of receiving, of being filled back up, of letting yourself be cared for by forces greater than yourself. This might mean creating a sleep sanctuary, making your bedroom a place that genuinely supports rest, not just a place you collapse at the end of the day. Soft lighting, clean sheets, fresh air, removing work items, screens, anything that carries the energy of doing. Others talk about asking for help during sleep, calling on angels, on healing guides, on the divine, to work on them while they rest, to repair what's been torn, to restore what's been depleted, to return them to wholeness. It might sound abstract, but many people report profound shifts from this practice. They wake up after a night of asking for healing and feel different, lighter, more themselves, as if something was actually done while they slept. And maybe it was. Maybe there are forces that want to help us, that are waiting for permission to intervene. And all we have to do is ask. Picture this. You're settling into bed, and instead of bracing for another hard night, you soften, you open, you whisper, "I'm so tired. Please help me rest. Please restore me." And you let go. You trust. You allow yourself to be helped. This isn't weakness. It's wisdom. Recognizing that you can't do everything alone. That sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is surrender to care. But restoration isn't just about what happens at night. It's also about what you do during the day. Chapter 14. The Daytime Practices That Change Your Nights. Here's something interesting. The quality of your sleep is directly connected to the quality of your waking hours. If you spend your days in constant stress, constant giving, constant overdrive, your nervous system doesn't know how to shift into rest mode. You're running on adrenaline and cortisol, and those don't turn off just because you lie down. Many people find that improving their sleep starts with improving their days, building in moments of rest, of boundary setting, of coming back to themselves. Because if you're only yourself for the few minutes before bed, that's not enough time to recover before sleep. Some describe this as micro-restorations throughout the day. Taking 5 minutes to step outside and breathe, closing their eyes for a moment in the bathroom at work, saying no to one thing they would normally say yes to, just to preserve energy. Others talk about ending the workday with a transition ritual, not bringing work home, not checking emails after a certain hour, creating a clear separation between doing and being. And many mention the importance of joyful activities, things that genuinely restore rather than just distract. A walk in nature, time with a beloved animal, creating something with their hands, activities that bring them back to their body, back to the present moment. Because here's the thing, if your days are spent disconnected from yourself, serving everyone else's needs, then even if you protect your sleep, you're still running on empty. But if you start honoring yourself during the day, rest comes more naturally at night. Think of it like this. Sleep is not the only time you should feel safe and at peace. If you can cultivate that feeling during your waking hours, even in small pockets, your nervous system learns that safety is possible. And when safety is possible, rest is possible. Picture yourself taking 10 minutes in the afternoon to just be. No phone, no task, no purpose other than existing. And in those 10 minutes, you remember what peace feels like. That memory carries into your sleep. It teaches your system. This is available to you. You don't have to fight for it. So what does all of this look like when you put it together? Chapter 15. A new relationship with sleep. Everything we've explored comes down to this. Sleep can be different for you. It doesn't have to be something you dread or struggle through. It doesn't have to be another space where you give and give without receiving. It can be what it's meant to be. True rest. True restoration. A nightly return to yourself. But that requires a shift in how you think about it. Most people treat sleep as automatic, something that should just happen. But for those of us who are sensitive, who carry light, who serve, sleep is a practice. It requires intention, boundaries, protection, and deep self-respect. When you start to see your sleep as sacred, when you treat it with the same care you'd give to anything precious, everything changes. You're no longer just hoping for a good night. You're actively creating the conditions for it. This might mean disappointing people sometimes, saying no to late-night calls, not being available for everyone's crisis at all hours, setting your phone to do not disturb, creating firm boundaries around your evening time. And yes, some people won't understand. They'll think you're being difficult or selfish. But the people who truly care about you will see what you're doing. They'll see you getting healthier, more vibrant, more yourself, and they'll support it. Many describe this shift as finally putting themselves first in this one area, not in everything, but in this, in their right to rest without interference. And from that one act of self-honoring, other changes ripple outward. Relationships improve, energy returns, clarity increases, purpose becomes clearer. Because when you're actually rested, when you're not running on fumes, you can show up as who you truly are. Not a depleted version, not a resentful version, but the full, vibrant, powerful being you came here to be. Picture this. You wake up one morning and you feel good, rested, clear, like you slept all night without interruption. And you realize it's been so long since you felt this way that you almost forgot it was possible. That's what's waiting for you. Not as some distant goal, but as a real possibility that starts tonight. But it requires you to claim it. To say, my rest matters, my restoration matters, I matter, and to mean it. Chapter 16. The physical signs. Your sleep is being disrupted. Your body has been trying to tell you something, and maybe you've been ignoring the signals. Some people wake up with unexplained pain, a headache that wasn't there when they went to bed, a tightness in their chest, a heaviness in their limbs that feels almost like someone's been pulling at them, and they dismiss it as sleeping wrong, as stress, as anything other than what it might actually be. But here's what many report. When your energy is being accessed during sleep, your body registers it, not always dramatically, but in subtle ways. A persistent tiredness behind your eyes, a feeling of being hungover when you didn't drink, waking up with your jaw clenched, your fists tight, your body in a defensive posture, even though nothing physical threatened you. These aren't random. They're messages. Your physical form trying to communicate what your conscious mind missed while you were sleeping. Picture this. You wake up and your shoulders are up near your ears, muscles locked tight. You stretch, you move, and slowly the tension releases. But you wonder, why were you so tense in the first place? What was your body protecting you from while you slept? Some describe waking with a racing heart, adrenaline in their system like they've been running. Others talk about night sweats that have nothing to do with temperature, or waking up shaking, trembling, without knowing why. These are signs of your nervous system responding to something, working overtime to maintain your boundaries while you were vulnerable. And then there are the subtler signs. Waking up thirsty beyond normal nighttime thirst, as if something drained your vitality, or feeling cold in a warm room, energy depletion showing up as temperature regulation issues, or having marks on your skin, not injuries exactly, but red spots, scratches that weren't there before bed. Now, let me be clear. Always rule out physical causes first. Sleep disorders are real. Medical conditions are real. But if you've checked those boxes and still something feels off, it's worth considering the energetic component, because your body knows. It registers every energetic interaction, even when your mind is elsewhere, and it tries to tell you through the only language it has: sensation, tension, discomfort. Learning to read these signals is part of protecting yourself. When you wake up with that specific kind of exhaustion, that's information. When your body is tight and defensive, that's information. Your system is saying, something happened here. Pay attention. And the question becomes, what will you do with that information? Chapter 17. Why some nights are harder than others. Have you noticed that your sleep isn't consistently bad, but rather goes through cycles? There are stretches where you sleep fine, where rest comes easily. And then suddenly, without warning, you're back to the exhaustion. The vivid dreams, the sense of being watched or accessed. And you can't figure out what changed, what you did differently to invite the disturbance back in. Here's a perspective that many find helpful. Your sleep challenges often correlate with your waking growth. Think about it. When are you most likely to experience sleep disruption? Often, it's during times of transition, when you're stepping into something new, a new level of awareness, a new boundary you've set, a new version of yourself that's emerging. And right at those threshold moments, the resistance comes. Not because you're doing something wrong, but because you're doing something right. You're changing. You're growing. You're claiming more of your power. And anything that was benefiting from your old patterns, whether it's people, energies, or even parts of yourself, might push back. Some describe this as the breakthrough struggle. Right before they make a significant shift in their life, their sleep gets worse. They have intense dreams. They wake up feeling attacked. And if they didn't understand the pattern, they might retreat. Go back to the old way of being. Let the boundaries slip because maintaining them feels too hard. But those who recognize the pattern do something different. They double down on protection. They reinforce their boundaries. They ride out the storm. And on the other side, they find that sleep stabilizes at a new level, better than before. Picture this. You've been sleeping well for weeks, and suddenly you have 3 nights of terrible rest. Instead of panicking, you pause. You ask yourself, what am I growing into right now? What boundary have I recently set? What version of myself is trying to emerge? And often, you'll find the answer. You'll realize you just ended a draining friendship, or stood up to someone for the first time, or made a decision to honor yourself over others' expectations. And the sleep disruption is the last gasp of the old pattern, fighting to stay alive. Moon cycles matter too. Many people report worse sleep around the full moon, not because of superstition, but because lunar energy amplifies everything. Your sensitivity, your openness, and yes, the energetic activity around you. It's not something to fear, just something to be aware of, to prepare for. And then there are collective events, times when the world is going through something intense, when fear or grief or anger is rippling through the collective consciousness. If you're empathic, you feel that, and it can show up in your sleep. The key is not to make it personal. Not every sleep disturbance is about you specifically. Sometimes you're just picking up on larger currents, and knowing that can help you navigate it with less fear. So what do you do when you're in one of those difficult cycles? Chapter 18. The Power of Morning Rituals. After difficult nights. What you do when you wake up matters just as much as what you do before bed. Maybe more. Because if you had a rough night, if you wake up feeling drained, scattered, like you've been through something, How you move through that first hour sets the tone for your entire day. Many people make the mistake of immediately reaching for their phone, checking messages, scrolling news, flooding their already depleted system with more input, more energy, more demands. And within minutes of waking, they've lost whatever chance they had to recalibrate. But there's another way, a practice of reclamation that some describe as essential to managing the aftermath of energetically difficult sleep. First, before you do anything else, you acknowledge what you're feeling. You don't dismiss it or push through it. You simply notice, I feel tired. I feel heavy. I feel like I gave all night. I acknowledge this. Then, you reclaim your energy. Some people do this through visualization, seeing any energy that left them during the night returning to them now. Golden light flowing back into their chest, their belly, filling them up. Others speak it. I call back all of my energy now. Anything I gave, anything that was taken, I reclaim it. I am whole. It might sound simple, maybe even silly, but energy follows intention, and the clear statement of reclamation has power. Next comes cleansing, not just a regular shower, but a conscious washing, standing under the water with the intention of clearing whatever you moved through in the night, visualizing it washing off, down the drain, back to the earth to be transmuted. Some people use salt water, either adding it to their bath or washing their hands and face with salt water. Others use sound, listening to specific frequencies or music that feels clearing. Still others step outside, even for just a moment, and let fresh air and natural light reset their system. Picture this. You're standing in your morning shower, water running over you, and you're not just washing your body. You're consciously clearing your energy field. You feel the shift, the heaviness lifting, yourself coming back to center. And then, grounding. This is crucial. After a night of scattered, intense, or draining sleep, you need to come back into your body, back into the present moment, back into the physical world. Some ground through movement, gentle stretching, yoga, a walk. Anything that reminds them they have a body and it's here, now, safe. Others ground through eating, a nourishing breakfast consumed slowly, mindfully. Still others ground through touch, feeling their feet on the floor, their hands on solid surfaces, reconnecting with physical reality. What you're doing is closing the loops that opened during sleep. You're saying, that was then. This is now. I'm awake. I'm present. I'm in my power. And finally, many people set an intention for the day, not a to-do list, but an energetic intention. Today, I move through the world with my boundaries intact. I give from overflow, not depletion. I honor my energy as sacred. This morning practice, even if it only takes 10 or 15 minutes, can transform how you move through the day after a difficult night. It prevents the exhaustion from compounding. It stops the cycle before it deepens. Because you're not a victim of your sleep experience. You're an active participant in your own restoration. Chapter 19. The people who sleep well around you. Here's something you might have noticed. Other people sleep better when they're near you. Partners who usually toss and turn sleep deeply when they share your bed. Friends who stay over comment on how well they rested. Even pets seem to seek out your sleeping space, curling up nearby as if drawn to something they can't articulate. At first, you might have thought it was coincidence, but it keeps happening, and eventually you realize there's a pattern. Your presence, even in sleep, creates a field of calm that others benefit from. This is both beautiful and challenging. Beautiful because it shows the gift you carry, the way your energy naturally soothes and stabilizes. Challenging because it means you're still giving even when you're supposed to be receiving. Many people describe this dynamic in their relationships. Their partner sleeps soundly beside them, while they lie awake, or sleep fitfully, or wake up exhausted. And there's a subtle resentment that builds. Why do they get to rest so peacefully while I struggle? But here's what's often happening. Your energy field is creating a protective bubble, and anyone inside that bubble benefits from it, while you bear the cost of maintaining it. It's not intentional on their part. They're not trying to drain you. They might not even know it's happening, but energetically, they're resting in the sanctuary you create, while you stand guard at the gate. Picture this. You and your partner lying in bed, them drifting off easily while you're still awake, feeling the weight of something. And you wonder why it's always like this, why you're always the one who struggles. So what do you do with this awareness? First, you recognize that your presence is powerful, and that's not a burden. It's a truth. You create calm. You stabilize energy. That's who you are. But it doesn't mean you have to do it unconsciously, at your own expense. Second, you can set boundaries even in shared sleep space. Before bed, you can silently or aloud set an intention. I share this space with love, but my energy is my own. I rest tonight. I restore. Anyone here with me must maintain their own energetic balance. Some people create a visualization, seeing themselves in their own protective bubble and their partner in theirs. Close, connected, but separate. Each responsible for their own energy. Others have conversations, gentle conversations with partners about the dynamic, about needing their support in protecting the shared sleep space. Maybe that means both people do a clearing ritual before bed. Maybe it means the partner takes on some of the energetic responsibility, setting intentions, calling in protection, so it's not all on you. And for some, it means occasionally sleeping alone, not as punishment or distance, but as necessary restoration. Recognizing that sometimes you need space that's entirely yours, where you're not holding anyone else's energy, where you can fully let go. This isn't selfish, it's sustainable, it's honest, it's honoring the reality of your energetic nature. And when you start honoring it, often your partner's sleep doesn't suffer, because you teach them how to create their own stability, rather than unconsciously leaning on yours. Chapter 20. What your sleep position reveals. The way you sleep, the position your body naturally moves into, can tell you something about what you're protecting against. Some people curl into a tight ball. Fetal position, knees to chest, arms wrapped around themselves. It's a protective posture, making yourself small, guarding your core. And if this is how you consistently sleep, it might indicate that even unconsciously, you're in defense mode. Others sleep on their backs, arms crossed over their chest or stomach. Another protective gesture, covering the vulnerable front of the body, the heart center, the solar plexus, the places where we feel things most intensely. Still others sleep face down, as if shielding their whole front body from whatever might approach, or on their side with their back against the wall, positioning themselves so nothing can come from behind. These aren't random preferences. They're your body's wisdom, finding the position that feels safest when you're most vulnerable. Many people report that as they begin to feel safer in their sleep, as they implement protection practices and set boundaries, their sleep position changes. The tight curl loosens, the arms unwind. They find themselves sleeping more openly, more relaxed. Picture this. You wake up and realize you're sprawled out, taking up space, arms and legs extended, and you can't remember the last time you slept like that. So open, so undefended, and you realize you finally feel safe enough to let go. That shift in position is a sign, a message from your body that the protection is working, that your nervous system is starting to trust that sleep can be safe. But there's another aspect to sleep position that relates to energy flow. In many traditions, sleeping with your head pointing north is considered optimal, aligning with Earth's magnetic field. Others suggest not sleeping with your feet pointing toward the door, as if that position makes you too accessible to whatever might enter. Whether these practices matter depends on your belief and your sensitivity. Some people notice a significant difference. Others feel no change at all. The key is to experiment, to notice what feels right for your body in your space, and to remember that your body knows things your mind doesn't. If you consistently wake up in a certain position, if your body keeps seeking that same configuration, there's wisdom in it. Don't force yourself to sleep differently because you think you should. Trust what your system is telling you. But do pay attention. Are you sleeping defensively night after night? Is your body trying to tell you that you don't feel safe? And if so, what needs to shift for that safety to become real? We've traveled through a lot together tonight, through the mystery of why sleep can feel so complicated for those who carry sensitivity, light, purpose. We've explored the thinning of boundaries that happens when you close your eyes, the way your natural openness can become vulnerability without protection. We've looked at why you might wake up exhausted, why your dreams feel like work, why some people sleep peacefully beside you while you struggle. We've talked about the loneliness that can come with setting boundaries, and the unexpected gifts that arrive when you do. The sharper intuition, the healing body, the quiet confidence that grows when you finally honor yourself. But more than anything, we've explored this one essential truth. You deserve to rest, not just physically, but in every way. You deserve to close your eyes without wondering what's going to happen, to drift into sleep without your system staying on guard, to wake up feeling like yourself, restored, clear, ready. And that's possible, not through perfection, not through getting it all exactly right, but through the consistent practice of honoring your sleep as sacred, of protecting your rest the way you'd protect anything precious. Some nights will still be hard. Some nights you'll forget to set your boundaries, or you'll be too tired to do the rituals. Some nights the world will feel heavy, and your sleep will reflect that. And that's okay. This isn't about never struggling. It's about having tools, having awareness, having a different relationship with your rest. You're not at the mercy of your sensitivity anymore. You're learning to work with it, to honor it without being consumed by it. You're learning that being open-hearted doesn't mean being unprotected, that service doesn't require self-sacrifice. And every night that you practice this, every time you set a boundary, or clear your space, or call your energy back, you're teaching your system something new. You're teaching it that safety is possible, that rest is allowed, that you matter enough to be protected. That's the shift that changes everything. Not overnight, but gradually, steadily, like dawn coming slowly to a dark room. So tonight, when you're ready to sleep, try something, even just one thing. Light a candle with intention. Speak a simple statement of protection. Visualize yourself surrounded by light. Call back your energy. Clear your space. Do one thing that says, I honor my rest. This space is mine. I am safe here. And then let yourself sleep. Not perfectly, just honestly. Let yourself rest with whatever capacity you have tonight. knowing that this is practice, this is process, and you're learning. You've spent so long taking care of everyone else, so long being the steady one, the strong one, the one who holds space while everyone else falls apart. And you're still that person, but you're also learning to hold space for yourself, to give yourself the same compassion you extend to others, to protect yourself the way you protect the people you love, to rest the way you encourage others to rest. You're learning to come home to yourself, even in sleep, especially in sleep. And in that homecoming, everything becomes possible. Your energy returns, your clarity sharpens, your purpose becomes visible, your love becomes sustainable, your life becomes yours again, all from the simple, sacred act of protecting your rest. So let your eyes close now if they want to. Let your breathing slow. Let the weight of the day release from your shoulders, from your chest, from your mind. You've done enough. You've given enough. You've held enough. Now it's time to be held. By the darkness, by the quiet, by your own intention to finally rest. This space is protected. This time is sacred. You are safe here. Let yourself believe that, even if just for tonight. Let yourself believe that rest is possible, that you deserve it, that it's not selfish or weak or wrong, that it's actually the most powerful thing you can do to restore yourself so fully that you overflow. So sleep now, not perfectly, just truly. Let the world keep turning without you for a while. Let other people hold their own energy tonight. Let the questions wait until morning. Right now, this moment, this breath, you rest. You are safe. You are protected. You are allowed to let go. And tomorrow, you'll wake as yourself, rested, restored, whole. But for now, just sleep. Just rest.